a bit of a rocky pass because first thing I did with this team was sophomore year. I joined the team the week that build season started, and then I quit 2 weeks later. So you're all ahead of where I was right now because got the game video, we started brainstorming, prototyping, CAD. I didn't know anything. So I was doing CAD tutorials for a few weeks, and you get the sense that as everyone's going ahead with the design and you're doing CAD tutorials, it seems kind of hopeless. And it is a bit hopeless at that point. And it's pretty intimidating too. Because you look around and you see everyone who seems to you like they know what they're doing. Most of them do. But it seems like they know what they're doing. And people have been, in this team, they did Lego League, they've done other robotics. And so I felt like I was really behind in the game. So I quit. Then next year, I had Brian in a couple of my classes, so he was kind of poking me until I went to another meeting. So I said, okay, I'll try it out again. But this time there was something that was a bit different. This time I was coming before the build season, so we were actually doing training, and I also had committed myself to coming and learning something. I told myself that every meeting that I go, I'm going to learn something, whether it's by following Brian around and pestering him with questions, or whether it's by trying something out myself. Most of the time it was pestering Brian. But I did end up learning CAD. I learned CAD in my engineering class and in the CAD tutorials that we did on the team. Because we may or may not do CAD training lessons, but I did those last year and they were valuable to me. And so by the time build season came around, I was able to contribute. At first during the build season, I was coming Wednesday night and maybe Friday. I would always come Wednesday night and Friday and maybe on the weekend. But then once I started, in the second half of the build season, I started coming to the weekend meetings, staying really late, and I was able to learn a lot. The real lesson is that if you commit yourself to learning, it doesn't have to be contributing yet, it doesn't have to be anything other than just trying to learn something. Within a year, I've started taking part in leadership, and within a year I got to president. So it's really about how much do you want to learn, how much can you commit yourself, and if you commit yourself to learn, you will learn something. And the more you learn, the more you can contribute, and the more responsibility that you can take with the team. It's just my experience.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where was the fun in it?
The fun started because at first I was just asking questions, but once I started doing small things to help out, that's when the fun started. When you can do things to contribute to the project that you're working on, that's when you get the sense of accomplishment and it starts to be fun.
Did the fun keep getting bigger?
Yeah. I come more often now.
I've been much of a technical person. I mean, to this day, I don't build the robot. The smell of sheet metal makes me nauseous, honestly. I don't know that many tools in the lab other than screwdrivers. But I stuck with robotics, and I made my interest known. Like, if mentors, guys, they are a great resource. If somebody asks you what you're interested in, if they say, do you like working on the robot, and you don't like working on the robot, tell them so. Don't pretend that you want to work on the robot if you're interested in doing other things. For me, I was more interested in the people side of robotics, the communication side, the strategy side. And so when everyone else was working on building, I started talking to Charlie and Teresa, who were that year's scouting captains. I saw them watching videos, working on some numbers, looking at robots as a whole, how they played the game, and I got interested. And by making my interest known, they started involving me in their projects. And so I didn't have to go into the lab to be productive. I worked with them and was head minion for scouting. I learned a lot at every competition. And then the more involved I got with robotics, the more I started to care about our team and seeing it succeed in the future. And so that's what got me involved in leadership. First of all, the opportunities arose because, graduating seniors, there's roles to fill. And emails went out about getting involved in leadership. But I thought about, I really do care if Team 971 is a sustainable operation. And if I have any opinion to share about that, or any effort to give, then I felt like it was worth investing in this team. And so I started getting involved in leadership, which brought me to community outreach. I'm still in scouting and trying to make sure that all those operations stay at their level or even better for next year. And overall, it's just been a really good experience for me. So I guess the takeaway from this is that if you're worried about not having the right skills or about not knowing what you want to do, don't worry. Everybody here wants to help you out. Just talk to mentors, talk to other people. Don't be afraid to honestly say what you're interested in.
So last year I was on the team and I learned about the team during Club Arena, like I think a lot of you did. And I came only on Wednesday nights last year. So I started, right after Club Arena, and I came on Wednesday nights, and it was kind of intimidating because there are people running around, they know what they're doing, they know how they're going to go about something, and when you ask for something to do, you don't necessarily, in the beginning, know really what you're doing. And so, as time goes on though, last year, I learned a bit about CAD, about a little bit about tool training, not very much, just because I was on Wednesday nights going, and I was with my friends, and we were kind of like, oh, we don't really know what to do, so we're just going to talk for a lot of the time. So we didn't really commit ourselves to the project, and as a consequence, we didn't really learn a lot. We didn't have necessarily the passion that a lot of the other team members had. Over the summer, I just wasn't at all involved. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do robotics. Like, why am I going to commit myself if I don't really like doing it? I'm not that interested in it. But the beginning of this year was like the shift for me, because I came to a meeting on Wednesday nights and I've never really been to a Saturday event or like a Tuesday meeting, and so I started coming, and then all of a sudden I just saw things that need to be done and just did them. If I didn't understand something, I made it a point to figure it out. A lot of it is just figuring out how to do things and kind of knowing how to be creative and attacking something and not worrying if you're wrong. Yeah, especially yesterday, I think I spent the whole day making drawings and doing stuff for the third robot because I was involved in manufacturing and stuff. And James came up to me, he's like, there's a lot of major stuff wrong with the intake, and it shows in SVN that you edited it. And I didn't think I edited it.
So what happened then?
So then James reverted it back, and it was all good. But
did anybody get mad at you?
No, not really.
Yeah,
Little, no.
Okay.
No, he's good.
it's okay on the team to try things and have them not work out, and then
Example is, I was supposed to get soldering irons from the engineering teacher. Did I do that? I forgot. So, probably the only person who got angry at me was myself. And so I sent an email out. As you can see, we have enough soldering irons. And so it all turned out well in the end. It's just a matter of, if you make a mistake, be ready to fix it.
speak up.
And if you commit to something and you can't follow through,
Find someone.
either find someone or let us know as soon as possible, because
Figure out what you want to do, because otherwise you're kind of just having people tell you what you want to do versus actually going out and figuring it out for yourself. And
you can change your mind too.
Yeah, I mean,
Or just do a lot of things.
I also remember beginning of this year, Natalia came in to one of the meetings and we were talking to Travis, and she said, I want to do more. And he said, well, what do you want to do? She said, well, I want to do some machining. And before she knew it, he said, well, do you want to be in charge of training? Figuring out who needs to be trained and get everybody trained. And she goes, well, okay, I could do that. And then after a few weeks, she was in charge of manufacturing for the third robot.